Hello, this is Ashley Crooks. Today I'm going to discuss the journal article I found about empirical research on different sleep characteristics, BMI, and risk for hypertension in young adolescents. The research I found was from a journal article called the Journal of Youth and Adolescence, a multidisciplinary research publication. Here is a citation for the specific journal article we are discussing today. First, let's address this question this research is seeking to answer. Do different sleep characteristics have an impact on BMI and hypertension among adolescents, and does BMI play a role in mediation between sleep and risk of hypertension? In this first diagram, I am demonstrating the experimental sequence of this study. In the study, they address three different sleep characteristics. The first is school night sleep duration, the second is weekend sleep duration, and the third is daytime sleepiness. The study will seek to determine the impacts that each of the sleep characteristics have on BMI and on risk of hypertension. For the sampling method, the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, or NICHD, conducted a longitudinal study starting in 1991. It included 1,364 families. These families were interviewed at month 1 of their child's life. This is phase 1. It is a 5-phase study which includes data collection at different chronological points in the child's life. The questions for phase 3 varied from pubertal development, eating habits, and depressive symptoms to attention behavioral problems and physical activity. Phase 3 was conducted in 2002 to 2003, when each child was in 6th grade. Specifically, this research took into account different sleeping characteristics and BMI, as well as continuous measures of blood pressure. These blood pressure standards were based on the adolescent's sex, age, and height. They took into account daytime sleepiness and sleep duration for the study. They also looked at school night and weekend sleep duration. The research findings overall concluded that 14.8% were at risk for hypertension. There were some gender differences. For boys, it was 15.7%, and for girls, it was 13.9% as far as risk of hypertension is concerned. All three sleep variables predicted BMI, and every hour more of sleep predicted a 0.63 to a 0.45 decrease in BMI. Increase in daytime sleepiness predicted a 2.84 increase in BMI. BMI was associated as a risk for hypertension. School night and weekend sleep duration had a negative indirect effect on the risk of hypertension. Daytime sleepiness had a positive indirect effect on the risk of hypertension. For girls, daytime sleepiness was the only category that affected BMI and showed an indirect relation to the risk for hypertension. For boys, all three categories had significant indirect risk for hypertension. Findings overall were small but consistent. The second chart shows some of the results from the experiments. The R-squared values are the amount of variance in risk for hypertension accounted for by the full model. The other numbers are reported in unstandardized regression coefficients. As for further questions raised by this experiment, the research main concern is that there's not enough research being done for this issue, which some would call an epidemic. Researchers said that greater attention toward this issue is crucial, that these findings show limitations that require further research. For example, all measurements relating to sleep were reported by parents or the child, which can cause inconsistency. There is a need for a more advanced study where more than a survey-type question is used due to limitations of the study, and more advanced testing is crucial to further answering the questions addressed in this study.